Hello, my darling Fumi Nation. How are you? How are we? My name is Fumidesaluvold. For those of you that are stopping by for the very first time, you're so very welcome indeed. I love reading your comments, especially when I talk about topic subjects that really touch me. And I have done 2 episodes now in relation to the Jamie Perkins and Nikki Thot saga. And on each video, some of you have said, Fumi, you're siding Jamie. Fumi, you're siding Nikki. I'm not siding anybody. Anyway, I read your comments, like I said, and there was a particular comment that stopped me in my tracks. And I think it was very necessary for me to read. It was a long one, but it was important. I'm going to put it up for you here so that you can read it alongside me. I want to thank Miss Tess for sending this message, and I think that it will help both parties involved, and it will shed light to everybody who has an opinion about this, whether it's Team Nikki or Team Jamie. And so I start. I watched Jamie's video and have been a long-time viewer of their YouTube channels. There's a lot of context missing in Jamie's story. Things he has mentioned in a legal perspective in regard to their parenting being 50-50 and divorce settlement regarding their assets didn't make sense to me. I can say this because I have background knowledge in the Australian legal system when it comes to parenting and divorce settlement arrangements and schooling system. The video may have been taken down because it could have been put in a court order that either party is not allowed to publish any details of each other online, especially without the other party's knowledge and because it involves the children. It is also not admissible in court as evidence, as it is illegal in Australia to post online without their consent at the time of recording, especially with phone recordings. Under Australian law, when it comes to divorce settlement, parties are obligated to make negotiations on parenting and settlement on assets within 12 months after their divorce is finished. If no agreement is reached within the first 12 months, then all parenting and assets get decided by the courts and neither party would have a say. Whatever is decided by a judge is always made in the best interest of the children. In no way do I condone abusive behavior. No one should ever be abused in all forms, whether it is physically, mentally, emotionally, or financially. I truly hope both Jamie and Nikki are seeking therapy and healing. I see 2 broken people dealing with unpacked traumas and seem like the issues they've experienced in their broken marriage are different from each other. I hope they both get through this for the sake of their children, as they are the main victims in all of this. Number 1, he mentions that they both have the children shared 50-50. In most cases, child support in Australia would be determined by combining both taxable incomes and work out what the average is each parent has to pay to provide for their children. If one parent earns more than the other parent, then they are obligated to pay extra to the nominated primary parent. By what James says, if he has to pay child support, then that means that he could be the higher earner than Nikki, and or he has to also pay Nikki spousal support, if that's what Nikki has claimed in the divorce settlement. 2, he claims that Nikki had enrolled Ava in kindergarten, and he had no way of knowing where she was enrolled, therefore was unable to see her through her schooling at kinder. In the Australian schooling system, the enrollments would have contact details of both parents, where they are obligated to provide information of the child to both parents, especially if the parents are separated. Most schools have online apps that allow parents to see their child's progress and messages from their teachers and notices of events that would occur. Absolutely correct, because that is what we have for Adrian. We knew when he would have nap time, we knew when he ate, we knew when they went out of school for little events, if they went to the cinema. It went to Ula's app on his phone, it went to my app on my phone. There were arrangements of who could pick up the children. They knew who could pick up the children. So my parents were on there. Christina was on there. My sister was on there. I was there, Ula was there, and all of the nannies were there on the pickup list. Jamie would have known this if he had paid attention to his parenting order, or could have easily requested for the information through his lawyer. He claims Nikki did everything in her power to take the car through the settlement. The lawyers would have discussed what the percentage each part got through the settlement. This would be based on who brought in the most income and who paid for what throughout the marriage. There would have been lengthy negotiations back and forth in who gets what before coming to an agreement. Jamie would have easily negotiated other assets, including his superannuation, retirement funds, which would have been worth hundreds of thousands of dollars in exchange for the car. But he was not forced to give it. He agreed to let it go. With their house, I think Jamie was the one who chose the area because it was closer to his parents, and Nikki compromised as long as she got to choose the house. He said after they separated, she moved 2 hours away, making it difficult for him and having to travel long distances to see their children. Nikki moved because it is where all of her family support lives. She has no family or close friend support other than Jamie and his parents and his friends when they were married. A lot of people are saying that she moved to spite him. I find this to be untrue. He claims he was left with their house he never wanted and left paying for everything. By Australian law, if one party leaves the house, they are not obligated to pay for the house repayments. It actually worked in Jamie's favor, as it would have shown he paid more of the mortgage than Nikki, and he would have been able to keep that in the settlement. If he was unable to keep it and he had to sell it, then they would have gone 50-50 of whatever profit was left after the sale, which is what he did. He was not forced to sell. They both agreed to sell if both their names were on the house title. Number 5. The recorded phone call about Jamie wanting the children to be picked up at the police station, and Nikki is heard going off, swearing at him and sounding aggressive. There are other recommended drop-off points, such as libraries, shopping centers, where there are security guards and cameras on. They both could have had a support person in making the pick-up arrangements. The police would have added to the children's traumatic experience and unnecessary of Jamie to request, which is what Nikki is heard saying over the phone. It is also what I said, that I would never take my son to a police station. It's traumatic for them. I would never take him to a court. It's traumatic for them. It's a grindy, gringy, dark place. And Nikki said, I'm not taking them there. And he is insistent. And yet, Nikki was being reasonable. And she did not know she was being recorded. But she said, I won't take them there. Did you see how so and so, I can't remember what name she said of which daughters. Did you see how she reacted the last time? This just proves that you don't care about the kids.
Dropping no damn kids at no police station.
You have to. You have to. You actually have to.
That just proves You don't care about these kids. Because
No, it proves I do, because I'm protecting their safety. I'm the one protecting their safety.
The thought of a police last time. Did you not hear her last time?
I'm protecting the children from their safety. You've been violent. You've hit me in front of them. You've abused me in front of them.
That does not make them violent people. Let me remind you right now who you are. You are not shit. You ain't never been shit from day one. You will never be shit, you motherfucker. Try me. Fucking keep trying me.
I'm not trying you. I'm trying to be fair, and I'm trying to protect my safety and the kids' safety.
I will expose your ass. I swear to God I will. Keep fucking trying me, Jamie. I swear to God. No. I've had enough of this motherfucking shit. At the police station.
I think the only person who can be exposed is you. You're the cheater. You're the violent person. But I'm not doing that because I don't want my kids to have to see the real you on the internet.
Parenting arrangements of pick up, drop off must be agreed by both parents if there's a court order in place. Nikki's reaction to this is 100% valid. Number 6, Jamie claims Nikki cheated on him. He doesn't clarify how she cheated on him, e.g. physically, emotionally. Cheating can differ from each person as to what they would consider as cheating. He claims she messaged him through Facebook and saw messages that she was still in contact with him. He then records her on several occasions and then starts making leading statements of her alleged cheating. It sounded like he was baiting her for a confession, which she did not confirm yes or no. He then brings up in front of his mother and Nikki's family member of her alleged infidelity. I'm going to stop here for a minute. In my previous videos, I had talked about that incident in the house and how so many things had gone on. I talked about how I said it was rude of Nikki to respond to the way she did to her mother-in-law. Her mother-in-law turned to her and said, "You have to take accountability."
Calm down. Out of the house, Nikki. Please leave. Please leave. Please leave the house, Nikki. Please leave the house.
Look at you.
Please leave the house. Please leave the house. This is violence. You've got the kids in your hands. Leave the house right now.
This is exactly what he wanted.
Leave the house right now.
This is exactly what he wanted.
Leave the house.
And look, he's getting video
Leave the
evidence.
house.
He's been planning this.
Leave the house.
He's been planning
Leave the
this
house.
from day one.
Leave the house. Leave the house. The children don't deserve to see this.
I think you need to take responsibility.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Leave the house.
You guys will never see my kids again.
That is
You guys will never see my kids again.
that will not.
Ever.
That will not happen. Leave the house.
Look at you guys.
Leave the house.
Look at you guys.
Look.
That's
Leave the
hilarious.
house.
Look,
Leave the house.
Whatever.
Leave the house, Nikki. Leave the
This is
house.
exactly what you wanted, Jamie.
Leave the
This is
house.
exactly what you wanted. You're actually
Leave the house.
exactly what you wanted.
And this is what I've been putting up with for years. Violence. All of this. And the kids have to see it. That's the sad thing. And never taking responsibility for any of her actions. Caught out trying to cheat on me, and then she acts like this. Instead of saying sorry, instead of trying to make it right. I'm sorry, Mom. You okay?
no, I'm not. Okay.
Where's your phone? I'm actually calling the police.
Just leave it for now.
With the deepest respect, because Jamie's mother and my mother are the same age. And so I say this with the deepest respect. And I'm going to say something to Jamie as well. My mother, if that was Ula upset and it was my mother, she would have said, "Ula, please calm down. Let us talk about this." She would have been the one to knock that phone out of my hand. There would have never been any kind of recording. My mother would have been on a neutral stance. It's not about that I'm her daughter, she's my mother. She takes Ula as her son. And she would have told me, "Fumi, you know what, be very careful, because Ula doesn't have anybody here. And so you cannot be recording because I don't co-sign that. Ula, please calm down. Ignore her for 1 minute. Just ignore her. Come, let us come and talk. Jamie's mother didn't do that. Jamie's mother, by saying you have to take accountability, co-signed with what her son was doing and her son recording. She made no mention, she didn't even acknowledge all of that. And that was when Nikki said, you will never see my children again. I know for a fact that Nikki walked out there and there were tears in her eyes rolling down carrying her child. I said it in the last video. Jamie said, you have the child or you have the baby, something like that, go. He never mentioned his children's name because, and I've said it here, you got to be careful. When you go through terrible divorces, you hate your spouse, your former spouse, more than you tend to, seemingly to love your children. If you as a parent cannot be there to water cooler the situation from both sides, then you should not say anything. You should leave it to them to sort it out. I believe that Jamie loved the fact that his mother was there. Again, he weaponized her because he is a mommy's boy. It's evident. He's a mommy's boy, and so, you know what, let my mom be here because she will support me, because she'll be aligned with me. It's something I will never do with my son. I will tell the wife, darling, come and sit with me. The blessing is that he has given me a daughter, and it doesn't matter how it all plays out. She's my daughter. And I have to step in as an adult, as the most reasonable, and say to myself, what is going to be the good here? But I would not tell my daughter-in-law, you know what, you have to take accountability. And even if I said that smoking gun, I would have said it in private away from Jamie's hearing. Because I don't want her to feel that I'm siding him. I don't want to belittle her in any way, shape or form because Jamie is screaming at her to get out of the house while he's filming her. I would never, ever have done that. And that is why when it comes to families taking sides, you make the situation worse than you can ever imagine. And you don't see your own child for what he or she is, or to the extremes that he or she, your child, can go to when they're angry or when they're seeking revenge and when they're calculating and when they're playing games, even on you. We continue. He then brings up in front of his mom and Nikki's family member of her alleged infidelity. This is baffling as to why he even had to mention that to them. This should have been a private matter between him and Nikki. He does not provide any evidence of her cheating other than he says and knows how reactive Nikki gets when he keeps pressing her on about it. Number 7, the restraining order Jamie has against Nikki. It would have been granted automatically if Jamie had provided video evidence to police of it happening because it happened in front of their children. Jamie, you're good. You are very good. Now it explains why Nikki said you got what you wanted. Because he wanted to use, and I'm assuming he used that video 4 years ago to use as ammunition for a restraining order against her. That was why she was upset. One of the clauses is the offending person is not allowed to mention or publish anything about the protected person. If it is breached, then Nikki would have to face court. In Nikki's past videos, she only mentions Jamie as her ex-husband. So he got the restraining order. If she mentioned his name, he would have reported her for breach of restraining order. I don't believe there is still an order against Nikki as they only last for 6 to 12 months. It would only be extended if Nikki had breached the current order and Jamie is able to prove it by reporting to police. By Jamie posting this video up is disturbing, knowing that this was put in the restraining order. This seems to be very calculating and baiting for reaction. This is only contradictory if he claims he fears for safety when it comes to Nikki. Number 8. Jamie claims he can no longer get work and can only do Uber due to having the children and living far from the city. Jamie used to do film and photography for weddings and nightclubs. This would be achievable for him to do on the week he doesn't have the children. The money involved, based on his years in the profession, would be lucrative, and weddings alone would cost a couple of $1,000s in Melbourne. There are millions of single parents who are able to do it alone and not make excuses to provide for their children. There's a loophole in Australia when it comes to child support, where a party can choose to not work or work the bare minimum in order not to pay child support, as it is based on their taxable income. I really hope this is not the reason why Jamie is saying he cannot work. These are just my thoughts as a long-time viewer and supporter of both of them. The video was painful to watch, especially because of the children. I think this was disappointing of Jamie to post about Nikki and not think of how this would have affected their daughters. Melbourne is a very small place, and every second person here would know who they are. It's been 4 years since they split up. I hope that Nikki has found therapy in her anger and her abusive behavior. By putting this out there for the world to see would be disruptive to Nikki's healing journey. It's just as bad as giving drugs to an addict who has been working on being sober. Jamie, I hope you are able to move on and also heal from the trauma for the sake of your children. When I first started this episode, I said I wasn't on anybody's side. I will tell you now whose side I'm on. I'm on the children's side. And that is where I have been from the beginning. The first episode I said I'm going to talk to Jamie, and then I talked to Nikki. Then there was a development in my second episode because Jamie put down the video. This is my third, and this comes from somebody who understands the Australian legal system. And I wanted to take the time to read it so that everybody has a clear understanding of what is going on. And it's hurtful to the children. I am team children, those beautiful daughters. And I will leave everything else for you to comment down below. Express your views in the comment section. Don't forget to like, to subscribe, to hit the notification button, my darlings. And I will be back with you sooner than later. All of my love, my darlings. And I extend my best wishes to everybody that is going through a divorce. There's a thin line between love and hate. There have been no truer words. All of my love.